Can you tell me your full name?
Jeni Markham Clewell.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a pastor in Norman, Oklahoma at a United Methodist Church.
And how long have you been there?
I've been there 3 years, but I've been in the biz for 20 years.
The biz?
The biz.
What do you consider the biz?
Well, in this work of ministry, in an official capacity.
What does it mean to be healed?
Well, for me, to be healed means to be restored to wholeness. And for some people, when we think in human concepts, to be healed means to be well or to be healthy, and we have to use drugs and we have to use medicine in some kind of capacity to do that. But I think for some people, to be healed might be to be allowed to die, because that would bring them to wholeness rather than sustaining a life that's not abundant or not quality.
Wow. And what is spiritual healing, do you think?
Well, I think spiritual healing, wow, I wish the church could figure out what spiritual healing is, because I think it's confused. I think spiritual healing is getting to the source of love that's within every single person, and not denying that it exists in every single person, and allowing someone's source of love to be different than yours if it actually is, and not forcing love to look in a certain way that makes us comfortable or familiar, but recognizing that the source of love is not ours to manage, but it's a gift that's in every human being, in every living thing, actually, not just humans. But to sit in silence and just acknowledge God's presence, to me, is prayer, and it helps me to center and helps me to focus, and I don't have to do anything, and I don't have to say anything, and to me, that's where I find, that's where I can focus my attention the best possible way. I know I spent a lot of time in nature. Growing up, I had a great uncle who had a farm, and I spent a lot of time on the farm, so it was a healing presence for me as well. And I think a lot of urban kids, even a lot of rural kids who live in cities, don't get that exposure to nature, and that's too bad. I think we need to do that more intentionally. How I got to be in the church, growing up I was part of church. But when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, people weren't talking about sexuality in the church. No. And so the first time that it kind of hit me was when I was still a layperson. I hadn't responded to a call to ministry, and I got the first phone call about a friend who had AIDS. And I decided I was going to go visit. And I saw the people who decided not to go visit. And then the church started talking mean. And I was like, that's not the church I grew up in. And that, kind of the reality of that was the face of church changed for me. And so I had to make a decision whether I was going to be a part of it and try to change it or separate myself from it. And so anyway, historically, the word homosexuality wasn't used in this book in an English translation until after 1947. And yet people throw it around like Jesus said it, when Jesus didn't say anything about it. So it just doesn't make sense to me that people in the 21st century are still using the book to enforce something that they think is right or something they believe to hurt other people. That's just kind of inconceivable to me. So when we talk about burning negative images, I think the first step for me is to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you've been hurt by somebody who used this book as a weapon. And I'm really sorry if you've been hurt by somebody who is a church member or a family member or a stranger, and they use this book as a weapon. because that's wrong. That's sin. And I'm really sorry if the church has been so slow to change its mind and its heart, because that's sin as well. So, if that's part of the spam, that's part of your life, then please burn that tonight. And replace all of those negative words that you heard from the church, from church people, from family members, because it's a lie. And replace it with messages of love and acceptance.